We are also live there. And finally on Twitch. I need to change the title on Twitch. I copied and pasted the wrong thing on Twitch. How are we all doing? Are we okay? How are we feeling? The final quarter of the season is upon us. 6 races to run. It's going to be, I think, a tighter championship than I was hoping for at the beginning of the season. Although, to be fair, like between the two McLarens, so it's going to be okay. But I was hoping it'd be a little bit nicer than it has been. Hello, Joe. Hello, Sarah. Yes, very. I'm watching today from my work. Ooh. But in the stock room, so I have earbuds in. Okay, okay. We'll allow it. We'll allow it. Just hope that your manager isn't watching as well. Where is the race this week? We are in Austin, Texas, the United States Grand Prix, even though there's now 3 of them. But this is still like the official United States Grand Prix. Oh, it's very dark. I haven't turned this light on. A little bit of light behind me. But we are indeed in Texas. Monarch, thank you for following over on Twitch. Getting some bonus Twitch followers. I can't remember what we said in terms of Twitch followers, what we were trying to aim for by the end of the year. We are at 650. 1,000 seems a little bit ridiculous. Like, it's very hard to grow on Twitch, especially because I'm live streaming on YouTube anyway, and the majority of people watch on YouTube. But I reckon we could get to maybe 700, maybe just over. The yeehaw, if you will. Well, who was that? Was it Alex Albon who did the yeehaw? And it's going to live with him forever, isn't it? You just can't do those things as a Formula 1 driver. You're always, always, always going to be made a meme of. And then what do you do? Just gonna have to live with it forever. Hello, Josh. He's in the chat as well. Should be the only US race, in my opinion. This track is way better than Miami and Vegas. Very true. It is way better than Miami and Vegas. But I can understand it, you know. They are in very different corners of the US. Well, they're all quite southern, I guess. Vegas is middle-ier. But you've got kind of East Coast, West Coast, and then Texas. Again, my geography is not amazing, but is towards the middle. Like, it's the south, right? But it's in the middle-ish. So you could maybe argue that they're kind of covering the corners-ish. They're segmenting the races a little bit. Like, America is effectively a continent-sized country. I know Canada also has a Grand Prix, but then that's kind of the north as well. So that's one thing. Why do I have to kind of think that American ad with Alonso? Yeah, of course. Yeah, thank you, Sarah. Yeah, South Central. And then Vegas is like westernly, right? I think, because I want to say Vegas is like near California. And I know California is the West Coast. So through reasoning and deduction, I'm going to go with Las Vegas being near enough the West Coast that, like, you know, Miami is definitely East Coast. So they're covering more of the land. But we are in Texas with 6 Grand Prix to go. I've started the stream live a little bit earlier than normal because I do want to get your guys' opinions. You know, you are the kind of people that are dedicated to the channel. What are we, the first 50 people in the chat on YouTube, plus however many are on the shorts, plus however many are on the Twitch stream as well. So I do want to get you guys involved in something a little bit different. You know that pesky little man, that very irritating little annoying person that I have to call a colleague and friend, Dan No Skill. We are doing a video together fairly soon, letting you inside baseball a touch, where we decide who is the best F1 YouTuber. But to do so, you know, you got to prove your knowledge of Formula One and also racing in general, and also prove your chops when it comes to gaming. So we are doing a little challenge between one another. In fact, let me just like show you it. Do you reckon I can capture it? Let's see if I can do a window capture real fast. This one? Yes. Look at that. We are doing a challenge. Is that readable? Probably not. Let me cut it down a touch. Make it a bit more presentable. We're doing a challenge where we are competing in various F1 races, challenges, things. But I wanted to get your opinion, first of all, on the ones that we've got so far. And secondly, if you've got any challenges you can think of, because we were brainstorming. We've got a few more in the line that I don't want to give away, but I wanted to get your opinion on it. So the premise of the video is that you have to finish more of these challenges than the other. You can do any of these challenges whenever you want. You can do them in any order that you want, but you have to finish more than the other guy. So Dan No Skill is going to try and get half of them completed. I'm going to be trying to get over half of them completed and show that I am the better Formula One YouTuber. So, half expecting a red flag during this. I mean, if there is a red flag, we'll come back to this. Why not do some GeoGuessr? GeoGuessr is on there. So F1 GeoGuessr, where it's the 24 Grand Prix tracks, and you have to get a score of over 100,000, because it's actually a little bit easier than you think, but time consuming. So that's the other thing, right? These challenges, they can be easy or they can be hard, but they have to be kind of a little bit time consuming, because you want to gamble on yourself being able to do 13 of these 25 challenges before the other guy can do 13 of these 25 challenges. So we've got GeoGuessr in there. We've got name 50 F1 drivers. We've got, of course, win a Grand Prix. We've got qualify on pole. We've got do a reverse lap of a race. Oh, Sebastian with the super chat. Thank you so much, Sebastian. Nico Hulkenberg in Q3. Double Williams in Q3. Sprint race and the main race. Whew. He is going all in on Nico Hulkenberg and the Williamses. I mean, Nico Hulkenberg, very, very quick in practice. Very quick in practice indeed. But both Williamses in Q3 as well. Alex Albon's been a little bit off of it in the last couple of weeks. But I like that you're backing him. And thank you so much, Sebastian, for the $10 super chat. It will go towards this video with me and Dan No Skill. Naming World Drivers' Championships. Oh, that's a good point. I haven't stolen any ideas from the F1, what was it? F1 Grill the Grid. Maybe I could steal some Grill the Grid ideas. Because I know that was a Grill the Grid, wasn't it? Where Sebastian Vettel just absolutely smashed every single driver out of the park within moments. It was insane. What did he do? Like 73 drivers or something in a row, all the way from modern day to 1950. And he got every single one of them correct. So absolutely insane. I just hope Norris gets his karma served after Singapore. Goodness. There's a spicy take. Poor Lando. I mean, he kind of had to go for it. It was either that or just sit behind his teammate for the entire Grand Prix. There was no overtaking opportunities, were there? So I can kind of understand Lando Norris's position there. He definitely was thinking, you know what? I need to get more points than Oscar on the board, and I'm literally going to get one shot at it. He got the better launch, so just sent it. Licked the stamp, sent it up the inside. And yeah, I mean, it was a bit harsh on Oscar. He was kind of in a bit of a no man's land. There was nothing he could really do to combat it other than turn into his teammate, and then you never know, right? You could take yourself out of the race as much as you might take your teammate out of the race. Like, think about Canada, right? Could have easily been both of the McLarens, actually ended up just being Lando and cost him 10 points. So could have been the same for Oscar there, where if Oscar would have turned into him, tried to take both of them out, but only taken himself out, could have really played against his favour. So yeah, Piastri and Norris turn 1 crash, like Austin 2015. I feel like there hasn't been a big moment between them yet. Maybe Canada, you could say, is like the one really big clash that we've had, but we didn't really get to see them battle for very long because Norris just completely misjudged it the first instance that they were battling down that main straight. So I'd like to see a little bit more battling between the two McLaren drivers. I feel like I've been saying that every single week though, and it's still not coming true. So we'll see this week. It does feel like this season is building up to something, like building up to some kind of crescendo without ever sort of hitting it yet. Like, maybe it's going to leave all the way to Abu Dhabi, and then Abu Dhabi is going to be an absolute banger of a race, but we'll have to wait and see, because I'm not sure at this moment in time what this season is kind of building itself up to, because as I say, it just feels like it's building up to something, but not quite there. Need a battle like Austria. Yeah, Austria is the other one, isn't it? Austria, they kind of went side by side, but then that was also sort of kiboshed, mainly because Oscar Piastri was looking like he was going to take out Lando Norris, and it was in the wake of Canada too. Like, I feel like if Austria hadn't been just after Canada and just after the team had seen Lando Norris do what he did, then maybe we'd have seen a little bit more racing in Austria. But as soon as it looked like Oscar was going to wipe out Lando Norris, like when he locked up into turn 4 and the team were like, absolutely not, that's enough of that, let's make sure both cars actually finish. Because remember, they hadn't won the Constructors' Championship yet. I think that's the other thing. Now we've kind of post-summer break. Now we're getting into the end of the season. Well, now that the Constructors' Championship is absolutely confirmed, it's a very different kettle of fish, right? Because I was talking about the Australian Grand Prix as well the other day, and I was like, you know, they were giving orders all the way back then, the Australian Grand Prix, telling Oscar to hold back on fighting his teammate, etc., etc. But at that point, they didn't know they were going to win the Constructors' Championship, so it kind of makes a bit more sense for them to not quite let both drivers just absolutely lean into it and go full out against one another. But now that they've got the Constructors' Championship in the bag, now that, you know, the Drivers' Championship semi feels like it's just between two drivers. I know everyone keeps talking about Max Verstappen and his ability to get back into it. I'm not saying that Max Verstappen won't. Like, Max Verstappen is a very, very good driver, and is more than capable of winning the next 6 races in a row. Like, we've seen him win 10 in a row before. Nothing to say he can't win the next 6 in a row. But it would be absolutely insane if he was able to do it. Like, if Max Verstappen goes on to win this championship, it is ridiculous. I will be revoking my Formula One fandom. I think as a McLaren fan, I've been through enough. I should be able to see a Constructors' Championship and a Drivers' Championship win. I do not want to see just one of them. I know that's greedy, but realistically, who wants to win the Constructors' Championship? The Drivers' Championship is the one that matters. And if Max Verstappen wins 5 in a row, even in the season when he doesn't have the best car on the grid, I will be so upset. So upset. I was shocked to hear that George did not get a multi-year contract. I think he did, didn't he? Minimum 3 years. Oh, did not get a multi-year contract. Did get a multi-year. I think he did get a multi-year contract. They just didn't say how many years it was for. Thank you again for the $10, though, Sebastian. But yeah, we were going to talk about George Russell. Should we talk about George Russell now and the Mercedes duo? I mean, it's not just George Russell. Both of them have got themselves a contract. I mean, moving up into second place in the constructors over the last few weeks, consolidating their position there, 27 points ahead of Ferrari. Kimi Antonelli does feel like he's hitting a little bit of form once again. George Russell's just won his second Grand Prix of the season. Feels like the right time to confirm both of those Mercedes drivers. Like, we knew it was happening, right? We knew it was going to be the case. It was never going to swap around, especially once Max Verstappen had confirmed himself into a Red Bull seat. But it was an interesting one that it was kind of multi-year. We were waiting for it to happen. How many years would it be? How much money would it be as well for George Russell? Like, that is a big factor when he's looking at Lando Norris, Charles Leclerc, you know, people around him that he would say he's equivalent to, if not better than. Like, I would say right now, George Russell is the second best driver on the grid for me. And therefore, he'll be looking at those other drivers that are getting paid a lot more, that are also in top teams that aren't winning races, like Charles Leclerc. And he'll be saying, I think I'm worth a little bit more to the Mercedes team. And also, I want a real shot at a driver's championship because you made me wait, right? You left me out at Williams. I know that Williams did some magic with their contracting, so they were able to keep George Russell for an additional couple of seasons, but they did some absolute magic there. And then by the time George Russell actually got to Mercedes, it was too late. The Mercedes car was no longer a championship winning car. He had to wait a little while for his first win, and he's never actually had a Mercedes in his, 4 seasons there now, where he has been able to be competitive and be competitive at every single Grand Prix is what I was aiming for, and actually go for a title challenge of some kind. I know technically, again, he can still win the championship from this point. 6 races still to go if he wins absolutely every single one of them from this point, but I think it's a reasonable thing for George Russell to be expecting a big contract, multi-year deal, and an actual shot at a title that Mercedes should be able to deliver him, considering all of the murmurs are that Mercedes are going to have the best car, or, well, at least the best engine going into the regulations for 2026. Yeah, the rumor is that George Russell's got a 1+1. I think that's a little bit harsh. It's what I would have given him if I was Toto Wolff. I think I've said this before. I would definitely have gone for a 1+1 deal because it opens the door a touch, doesn't it? I'd have given Kimi Antonelli a 1+1, but I would have set his +1 at fairly reasonable. Like, you need to get within this many points of George Russell come the summer break or something like that. Like, a fairly easy target for Kimi Antonelli to hit to get that +1. And then maybe set George Russell's a little bit of a trickier challenge, just because I think you want that seat available just in case Max Verstappen does want to open that door. It's a weird scenario where George Russell could find himself in there, right? Because what if George Russell wins the championship next year for Mercedes, but then Max Verstappen also decides he wants to move over to Mercedes, and Mercedes have courted Max Verstappen for a good few years now. So do we end up seeing a Russell-Verstappen pairing because Russell is the current world champion? Or do we see Mercedes kick out the current world champion, who would be George Russell? I know this is all very hypothetical, but imagine they kick out George Russell and George Russell has to go to like an Aston Martin to replace Fernando Alonso, or like a Ferrari to replace Charles Leclerc if he decides to actually jump ship finally. Like, we could end up in a scenario where Mercedes are in a bit of a sticky situation with George Russell having that multi-year contract. And again, I'd love to know what that kind of multi-year deal actually looks like, because I would be surprised if it is anything more than a 1+1, or even like maybe a 1+2, let's say, something like that, where he can earn himself a slightly longer contract if he wins the world championship. something along those lines. Like, but then even like if he wins the World Championship, do you still want him over Max Verstappen? Do they want Max Verstappen more than a championship winning George Russell? Because like if it's a really easy championship win, say 2026, the Mercedes car is just by far and away the quickest. Like Kimi Antonelli is coming second in the championship comfortably, even though he's only in his second season in Formula One and still very, very young. But George Russell just like walks to a championship. Do they keep him? Like, or have they got such a dominant car that Max Verstappen then says, I want it, and they want Max Verstappen? It's a weird situation to be in if you're Mercedes, but both Mercedes drivers are now confirmed for 2026. They were never not going to be confirmed, but here's how it is. How do I feel about the rumors of Piastri leaving McLaren in 2027? I think the 2027 driver market is so interesting. There's so many drivers that kind of locked themselves in at the end of last year. So, you know, we're talking your Nico Hülkenbergs, we're talking a lot of the rookies, we're talking, you know, Lewis Hamilton, Fernando Alonso. Like a lot of the drivers locked themselves in for 2026 just in case, right? They got themselves in a situation where they could drive in 2025 for a team and follow that up into 2026. Like even Carlos Sainz did the same thing at Williams, like because he believes in that Williams process and the ability for Williams to get better into 2026. But then that does mean come the end of 2026, there's going to be quite a lot of drivers that are out of contract or are willing to move because the 2026 start to the regulations hasn't been what they wanted. And I know it's tough. Like you shouldn't always hedge your bets on the start of a regulation cycle because, well, look at this regulation cycle. Ferrari were the second best car. Mercedes were absolutely nowhere. Red Bull were dominant. It can change within the regulation cycle, but it does take a few years. Like it took 2.5 seasons for McLaren to sort of surmount Red Bull as the best team on the grid, and it's taken that amount of time for Ferrari to kind of fall away from it. They were very, very competitive at the start of 22, very competitive in 2024 as well. Like we talked about, possibly Ferrari going for the championship alongside McLaren this season. That just hasn't panned out. Like I remember in 2022, McLaren coming behind Alpine in the championship, and you look at how different their trajectories have been. So you can't always guarantee what's going to happen by judging 2026, but a lot of the drivers will use that 2026 season to determine what their next move is going to be. And a lot of the teams will use the 2026 season to judge what drivers they want to keep hold of. Like there's a lot of teams that have brought in youth. You're looking at, you know, do Haas bother keeping Esteban Ocon if Ollie Behrman is outperforming him? Do Sauber keep Nico Hülkenberg if Gabriel Bortoleto is outperforming him? Like there is an opportunity where those rookies that have come in do start to just sort of take the position as main driver, and then the team can be like, well, Nico, we know that you're really solid, or Esteban, we know that you're really solid, but we think we want to build around Gabby now. We think we want to build around Ollie now. We're going to look to replace you. Like, could certainly be the case. Maybe less so for Hülkenberg just because it's Audi and German, and I imagine he's got some extra bits and pieces that maybe he can go into a position behind the scenes possibly after his contract comes to a close, a little bit like what Fernando Alonso has surely got at Aston Martin. I'm imagining Fernando Alonso is still going to stick around at Aston Martin in some capacity after his contract comes to a close, but I think there'll be a lot of movement in 2027. Possibly even Cadillac as well, right? If Bottas gets absolutely destroyed by Perez or vice versa, Colton Herta has done his year in Formula 2 and has the points on his license. Maybe they get Colton Herta in straight away. You know, they don't have to keep those experienced drivers forever. I think they want them now, but possibly not. 22 McLaren fighting Alpine for 4th. Yeah, exactly. Now one's absolutely dominated the Constructors' Championship and one is 26 points behind Haas at the bottom of the standings. And you wouldn't have even said somebody would be behind Haas or even behind Sauber, to be honest, right? Like they were so far off the pace over the last couple of seasons. But Alpine, how the mighty fall. And this is the thing. He's 4 years ago now. Like, I know it was the start of this regulation cycle, but it's 4 years ago. It's a long time in Formula One. Lots of things can change. You look at how many team bosses have swapped around. You look at how many drivers have swapped around. Like, the grid in 2022 is completely different to the grid now. And I think 2027 is going to be one of those big reshuffles once again. Because I don't think we're going to see too many changes at the end of this year, right? The McLarens are locked in. Mercedes are locked in. Ferrari's locked in. Red Bull might swap Yuki Tsunoda for, say, Isaac Hadjar, but then they've got Arvid Lindblad to go in there. Williams locked in, Aston Martin locked in, Sauber locked in, Haas locked in, Alpine. Do they swap Franco Colapinto? Maybe, maybe not. I think Franco's actually done a little bit better recently, so and he's got the money there, so I don't know. It's a bit of a weird one. I feel like the 2025 going into 2026 is going to be another sort of calm year, and then we jump into 2027 where it's going to be chaos again in the driver market. Hello, Bits Gamer. Hello, Zach, as well. I really hope Lando wins the World Drivers' Championship over Oscar because Piastri seems way too young and immature to be a World Drivers' Champion. I completely disagree. I think Oscar is one of the most mature drivers that there can be. Like, they are absolutely, or Oscar is absolutely level-headed. I think we've seen a little bit of a wobble recently, but that's championship pressure, and he was going to have a little wobble at some point. We've seen a lot of drivers, even very experienced drivers, have a moment during a championship season. I think Piastri is by far and away one of the most level-headed and most mature drivers out there. Will this chat be members during quali? No, it's open to everybody. Well, open to everybody as long as you're, getting involved nicely and not being nasty to anyone. It's open to whoever wants to get involved. Who's taking the Red Bull seat? For me, I think it would be Isaac Hadjar, right? He's just been the more impressive of the two RBs over the course of the season. Although saying that, Liam Lawson has kind of come to the fore a touch, but Lawson just likes crashing into people too much. I think that's the downside of Liam Lawson. Is Hadjar the only option? There's no rookies that aren't on the grid currently. I think it would be Arvid Lindblad, right, is the only other choice, but I still think they'd give Lindblad an opportunity to go into the Racing Bull seat rather than go straight up into Red Bull. Thank you, Sebastian, again for the super chat. Sebastian is on fire today. If Fernando retires in 2026, do I believe Liam Larson could join Aston Martin? No, I think Aston Martin would go for another big name driver. Like, the whole point of them bringing in Fernando Alonso was because they wanted a drivers' championship winner, right? They wanted somebody to replace Sebastian Vettel, 4-time champion. All of the money that brings, the sponsorships that brings, just for having a world champion in your car. Aston Martin wanted to have that and wanted to continue that. So the only other champions on the grid at the time were Sebastian Vettel, Max Verstappen, Lewis Hamilton. Were there any other champions on the grid at that moment? I don't think so. So yeah, Fernando Alonso was the only other champion that they could get. Well, actually, they're the only champions we've had in time, apart from Kimi Raikkonen. No, Kimi Raikkonen was not still on the grid then. Kimi Raikkonen left ages ago. And Nico Rosberg left ages ago too. So yeah, they wanted a big name driver. They wanted a champion. Fernando Alonso slots right in there perfectly. Am I staying up to date with Zach Brown and Alex Palou situation? I am. It's ridiculous. Like, it's insane. I think it's so tricky. Like, in hindsight, you're like, well, Oscar Piastri has worked out perfectly. Oscar Piastri might go on to be the first McLaren world champion since Lewis Hamilton. Like, you're looking at a very, very solid driver pick in Oscar Piastri now, in hindsight. At the time, it was a little bit of a gamble. And I think Alex Palou would have been a great Formula One driver. Like, I can understand why McLaren were going down that path. And I think from what we've kind of seen and what we've heard Alex Palou was desperate to become a Formula One driver. Like, he came through the ranks. I think he was Carlos Sainz's teammate back in the day. Like, similar kind of background, both Spanish, of course, came through karting together and things like that. And I don't know, like, just seems like Alex Palou is destined to be in Formula One at some point. I know that he's absolutely smashing IndyCar right now. He's about to go, 4 championships in 5 years. So he's comfortable in IndyCar. He's winning championships pretty nicely. And that also plays into it, right? Because he eventually decided not to go to McLaren. The McLaren IndyCar team, I should say, the McLaren Arrows, because he was still winning championships with Chip Ganassi and has continued to win championships with Chip Ganassi. So makes sense that he opted out of that move once the Formula One move also collapsed upon him. But yeah, it is a weird situation, isn't it? Like, these things that go on behind the scenes in Formula One that we're not really privy to, and the discussions about contracts and the future of seats and how it can change so quickly as well. Because I imagine Alex Palou thought that was basically guaranteed. By the way, he's talking about it anyway. He has definitely talked about it as if it is guaranteed. But Zach Brown then rug pull from underneath him by the sounds of things. And feel free to ignore this non-F1 QN, though. Do I think Leclerc will get a world championship? No, not a Ferrari, man. Not at Ferrari. Absolutely not. Stroll sucks. Good. Nice. Do I think Max can move to Mercedes in 2027? Absolutely. Do I think it happens? Oh, depends so much on 2026. Really, really difficult to tell until 2026 kind of happens. I think that's why Max decided not to move this season and instead decided to move, well, in the future, or possibly not move in the future. I think first and foremost because Red Bull gave him the opportunity to race at the Nordschleife. I think that would have definitely been part of the conversation that Laurent Mekies and Max Verstappen would have had. Like, it would have been, I'll stay at Red Bull, but I am going to do what I like. And Laurent Mekies was probably like, you know what? You're a 4-time world champion. You're still the best driver on the grid. Please stay. No one else can drive this Red Bull car. Yuki Tsunoda is on 20 points. Please stay. And Max Verstappen was probably like, well, if you want me to stay, I also want to be able to do stuff that I want to do. So the GT3 racing, I imagine, was put into, probably not literally put into the contract, but Max Verstappen was probably like, I am allowed to do racing in other categories if I want to. And Laurent Mekies was like, as long as you stay, no worries. But yeah, then 2027, I think Max Verstappen still wants to win championships in Formula One, right? As much as he would like to continue being a Red Bull racer, and he does have the Red Bull connections, like you saw. The GT3 car that he was driving absolutely plastered in Red Bull stickers, and they're happy to sponsor him doing that as well. So I think that's the other side of the Red Bull thing that we need to think about. Like, if he did go to Mercedes, would Mercedes still back him in the same way with that kind of thing? Would they allow him to do it? Probably not. You know, we know Mercedes are very corporate. Look at Valtteri Bottas losing all of his personality whilst he was at Mercedes, becoming a robot, and then only really sort of flourishing once he left that situation. So be interesting to see what Max Verstappen would be like at Mercedes. But I think it is definitely on the cards. Also, Max Verstappen to Aston Martin. I think they would love that, because Aston Martin are also entering other little categories, right? They got like WEC programs on the way and things like that. And we were talking about possibly Lance Stroll going into that. Maybe it's Max Verstappen that goes into that. You know, he retires in a couple of years' time, maybe wins a few more championships or something, and then decides to race for Aston Martin in another series. Like, they would absolutely love that. So why not? Who's better, Hamilton or Leclerc this season? I mean, the points don't lie. it is Charles Leclerc by a considerable margin. like, a considerable margin is a polite way of putting that, I think. Max is a champion who wants championships. He'll leave Red Bull a crap. Yeah, exactly. That's the thing, right? If Red Bull are rubbish, then he'll go. If Mercedes are brilliant, he'll go there. If Aston Martin are brilliant, he'll go there. If Audi are brilliant, like he's got Jonathan Wheatley there. A lot of his Red Bull engineers have also just gone there as well. So I could definitely see him pivoting to Audi if they are absolutely brilliant. Not saying they will be. Like, there's a long way to go with that Sauber team, and I think Audi are realistic that they're not going to jump straight into winning races next time around. But if they are, you never say never with these kind of things. If Audi do come along and absolutely fly, he's got connections there as well. So I think Max Verstappen is basically in charge of the Formula One grid, if I'm honest with you. As weird as that maybe sounds to say, I think he's got all of the options in front of him, and he could go any which direction he wants. Like, every single team would say yes to Max Verstappen. I know it's not going to happen, but like, say Max Verstappen rocked up at Haas and said, kick out Esteban Ocon, I want that seat. They would go, sure thing. Here's a contract. Thank you very much. In you go. Max Verstappen, I think, could turn up to any team on the grid and replace any driver on the grid. And I think most teams would just be like, yep, no worries. Here you go. Here's the contract. Thanks for driving for us. Go out there, win us some races. Audi could be a Brawn GP. Very true. Maybe Cadillac, right? Cadillac I didn't mention. Cadillac come in. They're absolutely flying out of the blocks. I suppose they Cadillac are like a proper new team. Whereas, yeah, Audi more of a Brawn situation in that they are taking over an existing outfit. So I know that Audi are being talked about in sort of glowing terms, but they are technically just taking over Sauber. So they're likely to be where Sauber is next year, maybe with a little bit more. Like, Audi behind the scenes have already brought in Binotto, Jonathan Wheatley, like Ferrari and Red Bull engineers. They're doing a good thing. Like, they're doing the right things. You think about what Red Bull did to kind of circumvent Mercedes dominance. They went over to Mercedes. They said, hello, Mercedes engineers. We are Red Bull. We want to beat you in the forthcoming championship seasons. Here is loads of money. And lots of the engineers from Mercedes moved over to Red Bull and then sort of instigated, I guess, that 2022 championship winning car. Once the regulations changed, they were able to absolutely nail it, and they went on to win the championships with Red Bull. And actually, a lot of those people have now left because they've been offered, again, the opportunity to go somewhere else. Once you've won the championship somewhere, you can ask for a lot of money, but probably not from the team you're already at. So you end up moving away. You know, we've seen a lot of big personnel move away from Red Bull after they've won their championships, after they've kind of probably got those big bonuses for winning the Constructors' Championship, Drivers' Championship. And now they've got also another big payout by going back to Mercedes, or even going to Audi or Aston Martin as well. Aston Martin picks up a lot of engineers from Mercedes and Red Bull and McLaren as well. Do I think Lewis Hamilton is washed because he's being beaten by Leclerc? No, I think it would have been insane to think that he wouldn't be beaten by Leclerc this year, to be honest with you. Leclerc has been in that Ferrari team for so long now. He's clearly the number one at Ferrari as well. So the likelihood was always that Charles Leclerc was going to be the number one for this season. Again, Lewis Hamilton, the reason that he's moved to Ferrari in 2025 is so he can have a year under his belt and he's prepared for 2026. That's why we saw so much movement last season in terms of the drivers' in terms of the drivers' seats, right? I know there was no movement between seasons the year before that. Even Logan Sargent managed to hold onto his seat at least for another half a season. But I think when it comes to the driver market, it is instigated by those big driver moves, and it's also instigated by those big regulation changes. So there was a lot of settled drivers, sort of 22, 23, 24. But then with 2026 regulations coming, a lot of people wanted to get their houses in order in 2025 so that they could be prepared for the changes coming in 2026. So Hamilton moved, Audi got their driver sorted, got rid of Joan Bottas a year before the regulation change, if you know what I mean. Like, everybody did it a year before the regulation change because you want your drivers in situ, have them used to the team for a year, and then you run into the new the new challenge. So that's why we had such a big driver change before this season. Papaya rules, says Kickoff Clips. I think the papaya rules are out the window now. The papaya rules have certainly been put in the shredder. I don't think there's going to be much chivalry between the two Ferrari guys. Hello, Moto Holland. Welcome back. Welcome back. What time does the quali start? I forgot. In about 15 minutes time, actually. We are heading towards it very, very quickly. Do you hope that Gasly leaves Alpine for a top/decent team? I just don't think there's a landing spot for him, unfortunately. I think he's a very, very good driver. But outside of, say, 2021, where he was phenomenal, I don't think we've seen a crazy season from him since, where he's been absolutely scintillating and has, been a driver that you need to get into a top team. Like, if a seat came up at McLaren, say Piastri moves, my first choice to replace him would not be Gasly. And I think that's similar for a lot of the top teams. Like, even Williams, I'm not sure would look at a Gasly. And I just think he's in a bit of an odd situation where he got away from Red Bull. Think he needed to do that. He's shown his quality when it's come to Alpine. Don't get me wrong, but I don't think he's generational talent or anything like that. He's going to have a very good Formula One career without ever being a world champion, in my opinion, or even getting a shot at a world championship at any point. If Max moves to Haas, you would maybe have a new Magnussen. I think that is very, very kind to Kevin Magnussen. I don't know if Kevin Magnussen is quite of the level of Max Verstappen, but you've been very kind there, putting the two of them in the same sentence. Do you think Ferrari will make a comeback next year? Absolutely not, and I hope not. I hope Dan No Skill, Mr. Pulse, they just have to continue to be very, very sad. I would like Ferrari to come sort of sixth in the constructors' standings. That would be brilliant. Maybe behind Williams, behind a second team, like an Aston Martin as well. Let's have Ferrari drop from third. I mean, they might even drop behind Red Bull before the end of this season, so they might end up finishing this season in fourth place. And then I'd love to see Lewis Hamilton have an absolute stinker, Charles Leclerc in despair, and them drop to sixth in the constructors' standings, if I'm honest with you. Really would. When is Sprint qualified? Very, very soon, actually. We should load up a couple of bits and pieces. Give me a moment to get the live timings up for you. And then we will move ourselves over to the live timing boards. Who, in my opinion, is the best driver ever? Formula Duck is fuming right now. Yeah, Formula Duck. He would you just have to live with it. Look, it's not my fault that I've started a podcast with basically entirely Ferrari fans. I didn't choose this life, but it's the life that we got, and now we have to revel in their sadness. If Oscar leaves McLaren in 2027, then he's going to be out of F1 by 2028. I don't think so. I could see him go into an Aston Martin and replacing Fernando Alonso or something. But again, it just depends how the McLaren looks. I think, again, if Oscar Piastri is a world champion at that point, the McLaren team falls off a cliff in 2026, he would rightfully move. It's a bit like when Hamilton left McLaren, right? Hamilton could see that the McLaren team was only going one way, and he was right. The McLaren car was absolutely abysmal. Do we have to remind ourselves of GP2 engines? The McLaren car was absolutely horrendous, and Lewis Hamilton was a world champion at that point. So he moved away from the team. Same thing will happen at McLaren if Oscar Piastri wins the championship, has that prestige behind him, is still very young, and the team don't deliver him a car that is still, still competitive, still able to deliver him wins and deliver him another chance at a championship. That's what you get when you're a world champion. You get the opportunity to say, I want to move to a team that is going to still offer me the opportunity to win races and win world championships. And a lot of teams want world champions in their car because you have proof that you can win a world championship because you've done it before. And also you bring that prestige, you bring the money, you bring the merchandise, you bring all of those other things that come with being a world champion in Formula One. Like, I think Piastri moving is absolutely fair enough, to be honest with you. I think it would be the same for Verstappen. It was the same for Lewis Hamilton. Like, he just had enough of being at Mercedes, right? And he backed the Ferrari project going into the future. I suppose Lewis Hamilton's slightly different in that he also moved for the money. Like, he's also getting towards the end of his career, whereas Piastri's still very young. What McLaren driver do I prefer? I don't really have a preference, if I'm honest. I probably would say Norris, like most of the time, but I think only because he's been there longer, and I've supported him for longer because of that, right? Like, he has been at McLaren when Carlos Sainz was there. He's been at McLaren alongside Daniel Ricciardo. He's now alongside Oscar Piastri. Like, Norris has basically been there throughout the entirety of this build up towards championship status. I know Oscar Piastri also came in a season where we started 10th in the constructors standings, so he also went for a pretty tough time of it. But I think that's the thing for me. Lando Norris has just been there longer, so I would say Lando Norris. But I also absolutely love Oscar Piastri. If Piastri wins the championship, absolutely fine by me. One of the McLaren cars winning the championship is all I'd like to see. I really don't mind. He's going to get kicked out early 26. Oh, Colapinto. I thought you meant Oscar Piastri. That I was like, absolutely not. Especially if he's a world champion. Do I believe Christian Horner will come back to Formula One with a 12th team on the grid in near future? I mean, I hope not, to be honest with you. I think we're kind of done with Christian Horner, right? As much as it would be great to have a 12th team on the grid, and I think Formula One will open up the idea of having a 12th team on the grid. What was it, 2028? They were talking about the possibility of a 12th team joining the grid in the kind of Concord agreement. I think it's trickier now. Like, Formula One don't quite have the power over the teams that they used to in the same way. Like, the teams have a bit more say, and like, ask Cadillac how much money they're having to put into all of the other teams. Like, Cadillac have to pay all of the other 10 teams to enter the sport. So if a 12 team then wants to enter, they'll have to pay the already existing 11 teams a settlement because of the money that they're losing due to advertisement revenue and TV revenue and things like that, which is split between all of the teams. So I think there is a possibility of a 12 team. Would I want it to be Christian Horner? Not really, no. Would I like to see it happen? Absolutely. Stroll is the only driver with a permanent guaranteed seat. I think that's becoming less and less true. I think that was true up until now, and particularly if Mercedes engine, no, they're not using Mercedes engines, they use Honda engines. I was going to say, if the Mercedes engine is good, if the Honda engine is good and they nail the aerodynamics next year and they become more competitive, but Lance Stroll doesn't pull his weight, and maybe they miss out on a constructors championship because of Lance Stroll or something along those lines, I think then that's the straw that breaks the camel's back. I could definitely see Lance Stroll disappearing after a poor season in a good car. I think it's fine having a poor season in a bad car and sort of making excuses here and there for him, but poor season in a good car, I think even though your dad is running the team, there's a lot of other people involved in the decisions as well, and I'm not sure they'd be able to save you from being sacked in one way or another. The other thing is, though, if Alonso leaves, then will they want to replace both drivers at the same time? So then Lance could also play the card of, well, I'll just be the number 2 to whoever you bring in because, I've been here for a long time and I'll be able to show them the ropes and things along those lines as well. So maybe Lance Stroll's got another couple of years in him, even if he does have a bad couple of seasons. So a little look though. I need to get my stream loaded up as we're within 10 minutes now of the start of qualifying. Sprint qualifying, I should say. Sprint weekend is why we're live on a Friday. Feels weird to be live on a Friday. Feels like a very Saturday Friday, if that makes sense. But qualifying here today. We're then live twice tomorrow for the sprint race itself and then Grand Prix qualifying. And then we're live twice again on Sunday, first and foremost for the Grand Prix itself. And then finally for a members only post-race show. If you're not a member, become a member. Join the channel. Subscribe not only here, but also over on Crash Happy. That would be absolutely amazing. We're trying to get to 10,000 subscribers on Crash Happy before the end of the season. I think it's really possible. And actually, the Crash Happy channel is doing really, really well at the moment. Like, I know that I've kind of, well, particularly last month in September, there was a lack of content on this channel whilst I was trying to get Crash Happy up and running and kind of doing a lot of the behind the scenes for that, and the guys that we started Crash Happy with also working really hard on that too. But I think it's in such a like fertile place. You know, we haven't even done 10 podcasts yet, but it just feels like we already have really clicked as a group, and I'm so excited to see what Crash Happy can do in the future. So if you guys can help us get to 10k, that'd be absolutely brilliant. I've heard about it from Dan No Skill. Of course, me, Dan, Mr. V, Mr. Pulse, Formula Duck, the boys, 5 of us working together. And we're just having so much fun with it. Like, we've recorded a couple of videos that haven't come out yet. They've honestly been like the most fun that I've had in so long. Like, they're just such funny and great people to work with. And I think we've got a really good relationship, like the 5 of us, where we can be honest with one another. We can talk about the ins and outs of what's going on and actually help each other grow. Like, I've learned a lot from those guys, and I know, you know, a lot bigger creators than me I've been able to talk into doing this project with me. So very, very happy to have them on board. I'm very pleased that they are enjoying it as well, seemingly, because they haven't decided to just disappear. Chemistry is really good. Yeah, I think so. I think we nailed it in terms of who and where and when. I mean, I won't reveal the behind the scenes too much, but we did have a say. Like, I invited some people first, and then they had a say on who they also wanted and things like that. It kind of slowly built together. The pieces took a little bit of time to put in place, but I think all of those pieces needed to be carefully put in place and carefully selected for us to move forward. $10 dono if Lance doesn't crash in quali. The koalas, I've read it out. That is now in paper. Guaranteed. Needs to go in there. And that's everyone, actually. So that's everyone in the chat. There's like over 100 of you across... Well, actually, there's like over 500 of you across all of the platforms, included YouTube, YouTube Shorts, and Twitch. So, I mean, that is $10 from everybody. Absolutely guaranteed. And then I'm going to take a month off work because that would be amazing. And I could definitely slot into doing Formula One full time for at least a month. I can pretend I'm a YouTuber on that money for a month. Binging the podium cast. It's very good. Thank you. Appreciate it. Lance Stroll pole and win. Now you've said that. If Lance Stroll wins, I think that $10 has got to go up to like, oh, it was £10, not even $10. £10 donation. Doing the conversions. Is that still more than dollars? Probably. I should know. But I don't. I remember when I was a kid and like we went to America on like a family holiday because my dad got a new job and did very well for himself. And basically we went to America for a holiday, and it was like 2-1. Everything was like half price is the way we talked about it. It's like, oh, if it's $10, it's only £5, it's half price. I don't think it's like that anymore though. I'm too broke to pay $10. I mean, me too, to be honest. It's more than dollars. It's definitely more. Cool. Whew. The pound holding its value. Just about. All right. Here we go then. A couple of minutes away. Shall we shuffle ourselves over to the race times? Let me just get the qualifying board fully set up. This was what it looked like at the end of free practice 3, by the way. Nico Hülkenberg, the second fastest car out on track. Fernando Alonso, also the 4th fastest. Verstappen down in 5th. To be honest, we really need, like, Verstappen to have a bad weekend as McLaren fans, because I really, really don't want McLaren to win this drive. Sorry, I really, really don't Verstappen to win this Drivers' Championship over the 2 McLarens. It would ruin my day, ruin my month, ruin my year. I have put so much into this Formula One sport. I would like a little bit out of it. I know we've won a couple of Constructors' Championships, but again, Constructors' Championships mean nothing. Constructors' Championships are for the team. Drivers' Championships are the ones that people talk about. You know, I can name all of the Drivers' Championships, but could Sebastian Vettel name all of the Constructors' Championships? Maybe, to be fair. Do we actually get to see the stream or just the times? You get to see this. Unfortunately, like, yeah, I can't show you the race. That is illegal in every single sense of the word. Sky Sports pay a lot of money for those rights, and I can't take those rights away from them. They've got those rights. Oh, we haven't got the segments on the timing board. Let me find the options. Settings, track map, track map, track map, track map, track map, track map. Show speed gap. No, show sectors. There we go. Here we are then. The Austin Grand Prix circuit. Well, the Circuit of Americas. The risk of rain has been set at 0%. Blue head padding material must be used because it is so warm. And the possibility of rain is at 0. In fact, it's looking like it's going to be another hot race where the driver's going to have to wear the cooling system. Oh my goodness me, and everybody trying to get out very, very swiftly into the pit lane. Already they go. Lots of drivers lining up in the pit lane, prepared for the start of this one. And we get underway in a moment's time. It's going to be Racing Bulls to come out first and foremost. Have we seen the new liveries for everybody over the weekend? That's something that I was supposed to talk about. I had it in my notes, but got distracted and did not talk about. I don't know why I write these notes. I write notes before every single session, before every single live stream. And then you guys, we just get chatting. we get chatting. I forget about the notes. And they're put to one side. But yeah, let me know who you think has the best one-off livery for this weekend. I do quite like the McLaren white, but I'm biased. Isaac Hadjar was the first driver out on track. Yuki Tsunoda followed him. Nico Hülkenberg, third driver out there. Colapinto, Behrman, and Bortoletto also making their way through the first sector. Esteban Ocon is next in the line. And we're starting to see a lot of the midfield cars wanting to get out early, get their rubber down, and a lap time in. Liam Lawson follows Esteban Ocon out of the pits. Alex Albon then moves to the front of the queue, waiting for Lawson to disappear up the hill and around the left-hand curve of turn 1. Carlos Sainz, his teammate, just behind. But we are going to be looking at Isaac Hadjar setting the standard today in the first part of qualifying. He's just coming through the third sector now. Yuki Tsunoda, the man he's looking to replace, just behind him as well. Carlos Sainz then followed by his fellow Spaniard Fernando Alonso out of the pits. Lance Stroll next in line behind him. Charles Leclerc and Lewis Hamilton already joining the Q2. The McLaren's leaving it a little bit later. They're still going to have to wait behind the Ferraris as Piastri comes out of the garage ahead of Lando Norris. So they will be side by side. And Isaac Hadjar does indeed get us underway. Goes up the hill towards turn one. Turn one is actually such a tricky turn. You can completely and utterly ruin your lap, like Isaac Hadjar has almost done there, before you've even really started it. Of course, having to qualify on the medium tyres is one of the regulations during sprint qualifying one. Medium tyres only. Soft compound tyres can only be used once you get into Q3. Through the S's, Isaac Hadjar goes and sets the fastest first sector, of course, but then is taken by Yuki Tsunoda just behind him. Then Nico Hülkenberg also goes quicker than the Japanese driver. So Hülkenberg now the quickest man through the first sector of anybody. Oscar Piastri has just come out of the pits. Lando Norris making his way up the hill as well, and followed by Max Verstappen. Those three in championship order: Piastri, Norris, Verstappen coming out of the pits one after the other. Isaac Hadjar, 1 minute 4 seconds through the middle part of the lap. Of course, purple for now, as he's the first man to complete that middle sector. And then getting very close indeed to those white lines, Isaac Hadjar. Oh, and I think all 4 tyres might have gone off the racing line there, Isaac Hadjar. Through turn 19, it was very close if they didn't. Comes across the line at 1:34.8. Final sector, very, very swift indeed for the Frenchman. Yuki Tsunoda slots in behind, 0.4 of a second off the pace. And was quicker in the first sector, Yuki Tsunoda. Nico Hülkenberg then takes top spot by just under 1/10 of a second from Isaac Hadjar. Of course, we're just looking for the top 15 in this session, as Franco Colapinto goes nearly 2 seconds off the pace in that Alpine car. Ollie Behrman slots himself into the third fastest position. Here comes Charles Leclerc to start his flying lap as Gabriel Bortoleto finishes his and goes 5th fastest. Again, 1.5 seconds off the pace, so a lot of time to find for Bortoleto and Colapinto to get anywhere close to the 4 drivers ahead of them. And Esteban Ocon makes that 5 drivers ahead of them, though. Again, over a second off the pace, Esteban Ocon. Oscar Piastri just coming across the start-finish line to start his first flying lap. Lando Norris the same, so we'll keep an eye on the McLaren times as they come through, as Alex Albon then slots into 6th fastest, as Liam Lawson has gone quickest of anybody to displace Nico Hülkenberg. Carlos Sainz gets very close, 0.03 of a second behind Liam Lawson for now. We have 10 drivers who have completed laps, 10 drivers still to come. Looking at Charles Leclerc, his first sector not the best of anybody so far. That's Fernando Alonso with the fastest first sector and second sector, and Fernando Alonso goes 3rd fastest overall. Lost 0.4 in that final sector, Fernando Alonso, so maybe just took a little bit too much out of his tyres early on in the lap. Ended up a 10th behind Liam Lawson's lap time. Max Verstappen, though, has just gone quickest of anybody through the first part of the lap. We know Verstappen can be quick around here. He stood on the top step of the podium before, and Lewis Hamilton has as well. Here come the Ferrari pair then. Charles Leclerc, 10th fastest, is 7.5 off the pace, Charles Leclerc, whereas Lewis Hamilton goes to the top of the timing sheets. Purple in the second and third sectors, Lewis Hamilton nearly 0.4 faster than Liam Lawson. Here comes Oscar Piastri then. Around the final corner, goes 2nd fastest by 0.5 of a second. Piastri puts himself into a safe position, though. Lando Norris also going well and slots in just behind his teammate. Purple in the final sector from Lando Norris, though, so time to be had. But Verstappen shows everybody what he is capable of. He goes a couple of attempts quicker than Lando Norris, a tenth and a half quicker than Piastri, and nearly a tenth quicker than Lewis Hamilton as well. Verstappen goes to the top of the timing sheets, and Franco Colapinto and Esteban Ocon have dropped into that bottom 5 after having completed laps. Pierre Gasly is 1.2 seconds off the pace. Goodness me. George Russell, though, comes across the start-finish line to go 7th fastest. Kimi Antonelli has gone quickest of anybody through the middle sector. It's now coming around the final corner, and Kimi Antonelli goes 5th fastest in his Mercedes car, 2.5 tenths off the pace. Gabriel Bortoleto had his lap time deleted. You can see the track limits violation there from Gabriel Bortoleto. Let's have a little look at it. It was down at turn 19. So right at the end of the lap from Gabriel Bortoleto, all 4 tyres did go off the racing line. And you can see the left-hand tyres did cut across the white lines. It's very, very tight through there. It's definitely one that you can get wrong. It's right at the end of the lap as well. Pierre Gasly getting all out of shape inside of his Alpine is why he ended up 17th fastest. And Ferrari fans out there, Charles Leclerc is currently in the bottom 5. He is 16th fastest of anybody, 1.2 seconds adrift of Max Verstappen and over a second adrift of his teammate, the Monegasque. One of the best qualifiers on the grid, not happy inside of that Ferrari right now. Pierre Gasly, Esteban Ocon and Franco Colapinto, the other drivers that need to improve. By the way, he meant qualifying one only for the $10 donation if Lance crashes. Currently, we're looking pretty good. Lance Stroll, 12th fastest, looking like he's also going to make it through as well. Max goes top. It's so over. Yeah. Could do with Max Verstappen just being like, 5th or something, maybe both of the McLarens and both of the Mercedes cars quicker than him for once. Even 4th. I'd take Max Verstappen coming 4th this weekend. Just not 1st or 2nd again. Could we not have Max Verstappen 1st or 2nd, please? Or could we have the McLarens maybe finish ahead of Max Verstappen? That would also be nice, We are winning the we have won the Constructors' Championship. Maybe we could finish ahead of the Red Bull car. Ooh. As another queue forms, Gabriel Bortoleto trying to force the issue in the pit lane. Slotting between the 2 Haas cars. We are back on the way once again. Fast laps to come. Hadjar lock in, please. Hadjar currently 11th fastest. Is currently safe, but is 7 tenths of a second adrift of Max Verstappen's time. So still a lot for him to find. And you look at some of the cars behind. Stroll, Behrman, Albon, Leclerc, Tsunoda. You'd assume that those guys are going to improve. So Hadjar can't see himself as fully safe yet. Max Verstappen, Lewis Hamilton feels like they won't drop down to the bottom 15 from that position, but you never know. Track rubbering in, the medium tyres coming up Millhouse. Alex Albon starts his next flying lap right on the bubble currently. Alex Albon, 15th fastest. They said on the interviews, the Williams team, that they were unsure what really was going to turn up because they've gone to some tracks where they've expected to be absolutely nowhere and actually delivered some really quick lap times. Alex Albon sets the fastest first sector of anybody so far, so not too shabby Alonso at all, is it, from Alex Albon? Second sector looking pretty tidy as well for the Thai driver. It's going to have to deal with a little bit of traffic towards the end of this lap, as a lot of other cars just sorting their positions out. Charles Leclerc is going 0.4 of a second quicker than Alex Albon's current 15th place time. So Alex Albon slotting in and doing much better indeed, although Lando Norris has just taken the fastest first sector and Oscar Piastri has just taken the fastest second sector of anybody so far. Here comes Charles Leclerc then. He's going to find a whole lot of traffic. It's absolute chaos as they cross the line. And I think a lot of cars didn't quite make it. Gabriel Bortoleto, the two Hasses caught out of it. Ocon and Behrman. Oh, it is not very good at all. Tsunoda also checkered flag. Bortoleto not able to set a lap time. It got very messy indeed at the end there. Everybody completely misjudging it. Wanting to be across the start-finish line last, but didn't get across the start-finish line at all. Oscar Piastri sets the fastest lap time of anybody by 0.2, and then Lando Norris goes a second quicker than Max Verstappen's best time from before. Max Verstappen then also improves to within 0.2 of that Lando Norris time, but that is a stonking lap from Lando Norris to finish the session. Alex Albon improved up into 7th place. Ollie Behrman slots in 16th. And Pierre Gasly is going to be the only driver that can deny Behrman, and Gasly does. Oh, Gasly was able to slot that Alpine into a Q2 session. And it is Behrman, Colapinto, Tsunoda, Ocon, and Bortoleto, as Nico Hülkenberg goes 5th fastest of anybody. A very tidy lap from the German just to finish up the session. Kimi Antonelli also still on a lap, quite possibly. Although he might not finish it, as he's coming around turn 19 now. And Antonelli does indeed go into the pits. So that is going to be everybody done and dusted. And all Yuki Tsunoda can say on the radio is what? Oh my goodness. It is a 18th place qualifying for Yuki Tsunoda. Ouch. But it was a lot of traffic. Yuki Tsunoda basically having to race for position as he's trying to get his tyres in the right position. The RB car, though, not letting him past, and Tsunoda just finds himself stuck behind this traffic. It is side by side with Liam Lawson as they go through the S's. Liam Lawson literally closing the door on Yuki Tsunoda. And Yuki just came out in and amongst all that traffic. Never actually got the opportunity to do a lap. Like Behrman and Tsunoda and Ocon and Bortoleto, they were all fighting with one another for track position. And he never, very ungentlemanly at the end there, going around the final corner, trying to get across the start-finish line to start a lap. And Lewis Hamilton also became a victim of the situation as he was winding up to come round turn 20. A lot of the drivers started jumping in front of him to try and get across the start-finish line. But Gabriel Bortoleto on the radio also not very happy at all. Didn't even manage to set a flying lap time there, Gabriel Bortoleto. His first one deleted due to track limits and didn't get a shot at a second because, as I just said, all of those back markers that were trying to come across the line last completely mistimed it. Like, just didn't get round their formation lap quick enough and weren't able to prep their tyres correctly and, well, didn't get round prepping their tyres anyway, so it didn't matter. But there we are. Behrman, Colapinto, Tsunoda, Ocon, Bortoleto, the drivers that are out. Great lap by Nico. Yeah, solid lap from Nico Hülkenberg. Hamilton, very, very impressive as well, has to be said. It's a very quick lap time from him to be, well, I was going to say within a few tenths originally, but now it's a second off the pace because Norris and Verstappen and Piastri were able to all have another bite at the cherry. Carlos Sainz also through for Williams. Hadjar there in 7th, Antonelli 8th, Albon 9th, and Lawson 10th. They're the drivers that, if it stays the same, will also make their way through to Q3. But we have got Russell, Alonso, Leclerc, Stroll, and Gasly, the 5 drivers that will try to improve as they go into the second part of qualifying. And remember, this is only qualifying for the sprint race. We will have another qualifying session tomorrow for the full Grand Prix. But this qualifying session on the medium tyres, as you can see. And only using one set of medium tyres for that first round of qualifying. Hence why a lot of the drivers completing 6 laps on those tyres. Russell, Alonso, Leclerc, Stroll, and Gasly in there. What happened to Yuki? I mean, just slow initially, and then, yeah, caught up in absolute chaos towards the end of that session there. Was ridiculous to see what happened with those back markers. I mean, a lot of them were going to struggle to improve too much anyway. But Yuki Tsunoda, you wouldn't imagine falling out of qualifying at this point in a Red Bull car, especially when Gasly got through in an Alpine as well. So an awkward one, an awkward first qualifying session, it has to be said. But also giving us a little bit of a look at those top drivers and where they're positioned. Incidents involving Hadjar, Tsunoda, Albon, Norris, Verstappen, Russell, Hülkenberg, Antonelli, and Stroll will be investigated after the session, failing to follow the race director's instructions for maximum delta time. To be honest with you, though, the maximum delta time, whenever they go over it, nothing ever happens. So that's what all those investigations are, and they will get nothing for it because they'll just point at traffic or they'll point at another driver doing something in and around them. They'll be able to get away with that. Sprint qualifying 2, though, underway right now. Lawson, Russell, Alonso, Leclerc, Gasly, the 5 drivers that need to improve. Verstappen, Norris, Piastri looking like the most likely to battle for pole position, but got another round to get themselves set up for that final flying lap. Have to make it through, though. Can't count your chickens yet. One must beware hubris. Here we are then. Max Verstappen deciding he is wanting to get out pretty early on, is Max Verstappen. He jumps out into the pit lane and then across almost instantly. So he is straight out there. Max Verstappen's going to be the first to set a flying lap time. Lance Stroll, Fernando Alonso behind, George Russell and Kimi Antonelli also following. Antonelli just coming around the middle sector. Alex Albon finishing the first sector. Lando Norris waiting for Oscar Piastri to make his way up the hill. Piastri turns left around turn 1. Norris sees him disappear and then gets his McLaren in motion. Charles Leclerc not looking very happy at all, still in that Ferrari car. Joins the queue in the pit lane, but wasn't a scintillating lap time from Charles Leclerc. Hülkenberg, Hadjar, Lawson and Gasly then, the only drivers not yet out on track. Alonso just coming around the final corner, but Verstappen is the one to keep an eye on for now, as he's going to set the standard. A 25-1 through the first sector for the current world champion. And lovely little turn 11, hitting that apex. Round he comes. DRS then opened. The long back straight towards turn 12. Then you get to the twisty bit. 12, 13, 14. Tricky corners that you have to absolutely nail the apex of every single one, swapping from the left-hand side of the track to the right-hand side of the track and back again. Verstappen, though, round wide through turn 15. Benefit on the exit, going through 16, 17, and 18. Rattling yourself around there, Max Verstappen. Then into turn 19, probably the trickiest corner to get right. Can he easily go wide there at turn 19? Seems to nail it. Round turn 20 he comes, and Max Verstappen sets the standard at a 133.1. Who can get close enough to that? Oscar Piastri, starting his flying lap, will think, hopefully I can. Verstappen starting to find a rhythm indeed. This track is just so good. Yeah, it's one of the best ones, isn't it? Absolutely one of the best ones. Just so good. Like, every single corner just feels like it has an impact. And every single corner it feels like you have to nail because it's going to impact the next corner as well. Like, through that first sector, every single corner counts. You can maybe say, like, turn 11... You've then got a little bit of a breather down towards turn 12. You've got that DRS section down there as well on that back straight. But then straight away into turn 12, 12, 13, 14, 15. It's so important that you absolutely nail every single one of them because they lead into the next corner so delicately. George Russell goes second fastest. Alex Albon comes across the line to go third fastest in his Williams car. Fernando Alonso fourth. Kimi Antonelli fifth. Lance Stroll sixth fastest of the drivers who have completed laps. I'm keeping an eye on the McLarens though, and Piastri not able to go quicker than Verstappen in the first or second sectors. Neither was Lando Norris, a 10th off the pace. So the third sector is going to need to be where they find a little bit more time. Piastri round the final corner, the Andretti turn, and fastest in the final sector, but still 2/10 adrift of Max Verstappen's time. It's a good time from Oscar Piastri, but it's not enough to get next to Red Bull's main man. Here comes Lando Norris then. He does find a couple attempts in that final sector, does Lando Norris. And that means he is a 10.5 quicker than Verstappen overall. Here comes Charles Leclerc. It's only 9th fastest for Charles Leclerc. And that is not going to be a good enough lap, to be honest, if he's hoping that that's going to get him through. Lewis Hamilton also only goes 9th fastest. So Hamilton and Leclerc now right on the precipice of getting out of qualifying. Lance Stroll drops into that bottom 5. Hülkenberg, Hadjar, Lawson and Gasly still yet to set laps. Deciding to go late. Here comes Liam Lawson then. On the note of where are they? Holding onto their tyres until the track is at its absolute optimum. Lawson and Hadjar just making their way to the end of the pit lane. Hülkenberg and Gasly still yet to put a lap in. And I think I can see Gasly coming down the pit lane. Not sure where Hülkenberg is though. Oh no, Hülkenberg is there as well. I was wondering where Hülkenberg had got to. Needs to get out there sooner rather than later. Only 3 minutes and 20 seconds on the board. Lawson, Hadjar, Hülkenberg are out. Gasly then the final car to make his way out of the pits. Carlos Sainz has just come back into the pit lane. Verstappen, Sainz and Albon, the only cars in that pit lane. Could get in and out very quickly if you wanted to, but it's gonna be quite a quick turnaround if they want to get another lap in down at Williams. Sainz and Albon currently 5th and 6th fastest, so it is Norris, Verstappen, Piastri, Russell, Sainz, Albon, Alonso, Antonelli, Hamilton, and Leclerc are current top 10. But 4 of the bottom 5 yet to set lap times. Only Lance Stroll has set a flying lap. Hülkenberg, Hadjar, Lawson, and Gasly down in the bottom 5. Liam Lawson coming through the final part of the lap. Isaac Hadjar has also just come through the Sector 3 timing marker. It's coming around turn 14 and 15 just now. Lawson being a little bit cautious maybe on this out lap, but 2 minutes still to play. Knows that he'll get across the start-finish line with a good chunk of time in hand and a possibility at going through to the final part of qualifying. Here comes Liam Lawson then. Charles Leclerc, a 1:34.284 to beat for the Racing Bull cars. Isaac Hadjar also starts his flying lap behind. Nico Hülkenberg is just coming around turn 19. Pierre Gasly coming around turn 17. Ferrari fans might indeed need a little bit of therapy after this one. Leclerc and Hamilton are coming around at turn 11 right now, so they will get another flying lap and another shot at improving. Thank you for subscribing, Edu Duarte. Hopefully I've said that correctly. Thank you all of the new subscribers to the channel. Trying to hit 150,000 subscribers before the end of the season. It's going to be a pretty tall order, but I believe in you guys. And here we go then. Liam Lawson is going pretty decently. So is Isaac Hadjar. Williams podium on Sunday. Certainly not impossible. Feels like the midfield teams are getting amongst it, doesn't it? You know, you've got Norris, Verstappen, Piastri, Russell, but Antonelli's under pressure. Hamilton, Leclerc under pressure. Tsunoda's already out. Oh, and Isaac Hadjar's gone wide at turn 19. So that's track limits lap time deleted. Oh no, sorry, it's Liam Lawson. So Liam Lawson goes 11 fastest, but it's not going to count anyway, and he's going to probably start 15th because he's not going again. Isaac Hadjar, though, comes around the final corner, just only gets himself into 10th fastest. I thought the RB cars were going to have a little bit more about them, if I'm honest with you. Nico Hülkenberg, second fastest in free practice 1. Let's see if Nico Hülkenberg can get anywhere close to second fastest in this second qualifying session. Here he comes, the Stakes Albert car around the final corner. Goes 5th fastest, does Nico Hülkenberg. Carlos Sainz and Alex Albon take the checkered flag. Lando Norris, Max Verstappen, and Oscar Piastri in the pits. Here comes Pierre Gasly to go 12th fastest overall. Charles Leclerc has not improved through the first sector, by the way. Lance Stroll is also guaranteed to be out. So both of the RB cars. And Lewis Hamilton is right on the edge. It's going to be, well, Hamilton or Leclerc, it feels like. Leclerc then is going for it. Ferrari against Ferrari. Can they both improve more than Kimi Antonelli to maybe drop the Mercedes car out of it? It's the only thing that the Ferraris have got in their favour. Otherwise, it's going to be one of them guaranteed. Can the Italian team displace the Italian driver? Here comes Charles Leclerc round the final corner. Can he get himself into the top 10? Yes, he goes 8th fastest. So Lewis Hamilton then needs to improve. It's going to be Hamilton or Antonelli, and it's Antonelli who drops out into that bottom 5. Lewis Hamilton by 6 thousandths of a second. Ferrari fans can breathe a sigh of relief, but Kimi Antonelli fans agonizingly close to the back of Lewis Hamilton. He drops out in 11th place. Isaac Hadjar, Pierre Gasly, Lance Stroll, and Liam Lawson, the other drivers to join him in that bottom 5. It was Behrman, Colapinto, Tsunoda, Ocon, and Bortoleto who dropped out in Q1, leaving us with our final 10 drivers. And it's a little bit of a mix, actually. Lando Norris, Verstappen, Piastri and Russell, as you'd expect, but Hulkenberg is in there. Sainz and Albon have snuck their way through. Fernando Alonso has found a little bit of pace inside of his Aston Martin car as well. And the two Ferraris just about getting themselves through into that final part of qualifying. Goodness gracious me. It is very tight indeed. 0.006 of a second is absolutely nothing, especially it's quite a long track. It's over 1 minute 30 to get around the US circuit of the Americas. 0.006 of a second, just insane to me. Isaac Hadjar was quite a distance off the pace though, 0.3 off the back of Lewis Hamilton's time. Pierre Gasly similar. Lance Stroll then another 10th behind that. 10th and a half behind Isaac Hadjar even. And Liam Lawson, that lap time was indeed deleted. That's disappointing from both of the RBs. Was expecting a little bit more from them. Maybe one of them to sneak into the top 10, but it is very competitive. There's 4 midfield cars in there. And, did any of them really deserve to drop out? Probably not. Ferrari 1-2 incoming. To be fair, they do now get to swap onto the soft compound tyres. Maybe Ferrari have set themselves up to get the soft compound tyres into the absolute optimal position so that the soft compound tyres will fly in the final part of qualifying. That's why they were struggling on the mediums. Maybe we can live in that delusional dream for a moment. I think it's going to be pretty tough for the Ferraris to get anywhere close to that top 3. It does feel like a straight shootout between Norris and Verstappen, with Piastri maybe getting in and amongst it. George Russell, I suppose you can never really count out Mr. Saturday. I know it's a Friday, but it's Saturday somewhere. So George Russell in 4th spot. And then it's kind of best of the rest. Nico Hulkenberg starting in 5th place tomorrow would be very tidy indeed for the Stakes Sauber points total. Sainz, Albon and Leclerc currently the drivers that would be starting inside of the point scoring places. Of course, points only go down to P8, remember, for the sprint race tomorrow. Fernando Alonso and Lewis Hamilton, they have the opportunity to put that right. They want to get themselves just slightly higher inside of the top 10. Antonelli missing out on that opportunity. And we are headed towards the final part of qualifying. There you see 10 drivers dropped out. Lance Stroll had his lap time deleted. Turn 7, lap time deleted for Lance Stroll. I mean, he is already out, so Lance Stroll is done and dusted. Saturday in Australia? Exactly. It's Saturday somewhere. It is not Saturday in Austin, Texas, though. So many qualifying lap time deletions. It's turn 19 usually. Turn 19 is an absolute killer. Like, I've done it before on the Formula 1 game a few times where you think you're hooking up a beautiful lap. Like, you've nailed the S's through the first sector. You've absolutely smashed the second sector. You've got a beautiful run off turn 11. You've got your top speed imaginable down into turn 12. You've nailed your braking point. You've gone through that middle sector delightfully. You've then even got the tricky 13, 14, 15 absolutely smashed. Then you get to just that final couple of corners, turn 19. You go in just that little bit too hot. You've got to carry momentum through it. You can't slow down completely, but also too slow and you lose all of that good stuff. And Liam Lawson not very happy about the positioning of a Ferrari as he was coming around turn 19. As I was saying, you get to turn 19, It is exactly, yeah, Moto Holland's put it perfectly. The bane of your existence when you are doing this lap is turn 1 and turn 19. But turn 1's fine because, like, at least if you mess up turn 1, you're like, well, this lap is just like a practice lap. I can do it again, no worries. You mess up turn 19, you are so close to perfection. And then turn 19 just goes slightly away. Love that this is your home race. Always a good watch. It's a great watch. Austin, Texas. Underrated, I would say. Maybe the most underrated track on the calendar. I think when you ask people what the best race of the season is or what the best Formula One race is, a lot of people say Brazil or Spa. I think Austin, Texas always is a good one. I think it's very much like a hidden gem maybe of the Formula One calendar. Definitely a race that I want to go to. I know I say this maybe every weekend, but like there's some tracks that I'm not too worried about visiting. This one I really, really want to go to. Austin is definitely on the bucket list. Ferrari's going to come alive on the soft compound tyres. Let's see. George Russell, the first driver out on track. He's making his way down towards turn 12. Alex Albon and Carlos Sainz following him out. This is basically going to be a one-shot quali, though, because there's 6 minutes and 40 seconds left on the timer. It is over 1 minute 30 to get round and complete a lap here in COTA, so not a lot of time in hand. George Russell might be able to just about do it and do 4 laps, although he's going to have to come in and out of the pits very, very swiftly if he does want to do a second flying lap. You've got to think, if you want to do a second flying lap, or you either do back-to-back flying laps, which is almost unheard of, or you have to do 4 laps and then a 5th flying lap, if you know what I mean. So you do a flying lap on lap 2, and you do a flying lap on lap 5. George Russell then comes across the start-finish line, and Toto Wolff wondering if Mercedes have maybe gone a little bit early here, as George Russell in a little bit of a no-man's land. He's got Albon and Sainz for company. Everybody else in the top 10 just waiting and watching. Have to wait and see. Norris, Verstappen, Piastri, Hülkenberg, Leclerc, Alonso and Hamilton still in the pit lane. Here we go then. George Russell, a 25.199 through the first sector. Let's see how Alex Albon compares as he comes across the first sector line. He's about a tenth of a second quicker as Alex Albon in the first part of the lap. So Alex Albon getting the better of his good friend George Russell. Can he continue that into the second sector as well? George Russell, a 37.3 through the middle part of the lap. Here comes Alex Albon down towards turn 12. Carlos Sainz was even quicker still than his teammate. Oh no, but only by 1,000th of a second. So Carlos Sainz and Alex Albon basically identical times through that first sector, but quicker than George Russell. Alex Albon, though, nearly 0.2 of a second slower than George Russell through the middle sector, so loses that advantage that he had. And George Russell, the first lap set, a 1:32.8. Alex Albon, then, slower than Carlos Sainz through the first sector. Carlos Sainz also can't match through the middle part of the lap. So George Russell looking safe from the Williamses for now, as Albon a 1:33.0, 2:10 slower. Carlos Sainz, it's going to be actually pretty tight between Carlos Sainz and his teammate. Sainz was a touch slower through the middle part of the lap, but it was only a touch. Here comes Carlos Sainz then, as Nico Hülkenberg actually makes his way out on track, and Carlos Sainz does get the better of his teammate and is within 1/10 of a second, within 0.5 of a second of George Russell's fastest time so far. Hülkenberg is following George Russell pretty closely. Around Leclerc has come out, Hamilton has come out as well. Lando Norris is out on track as Oscar Piastri sending out the championship leader just that little bit later. Fernando Alonso only just coming. And I think Max Verstappen wanting to be the last man out on track. Red Bull going for last across the line technique. Tracks rub it in as much as it possibly can. Here we go. The final opportunity. And effectively, one lap shootout for these final drivers. Alex Albon is very tight to the back of Charles Leclerc. It's Kimi Räikkönen's birthday today. It is indeed 46, I want to say. The most recent Ferrari world champion. Nico Hülkenberg then comes across the start-finish line. Let's focus in on a few more flying laps. Where can Hülkenberg slot himself into second fastest in free practice 1? He's carried that speed. He's managed to get himself all the way through qualifying 1 and 2. But where is that Stake Sauber car going to sit come the grid tomorrow? Charles Leclerc comes around to start his flying lap as well. Alex Albon comes back into the pits, followed by Carlos Sainz. Lewis Hamilton is going fast behind Charles Leclerc. Charles Leclerc making his way through turns 6 and 7. It's a 25.1. A 10th down on Hülkenberg through the first sector, as Hülkenberg has gone fastest of anybody. Hülkenberg, the quickest man through the first sector, beating out George Russell, Carlos Sainz, and Alex Albon so far, as well as Charles Leclerc and Lewis Hamilton, who also can't live with the pace of Nico Hülkenberg's Stake Sauber car. Hülkenberg then through the middle part of the lap, also looking quicker than George Russell, but here comes Lando Norris to nab the fastest first sector of anybody. Alonso, Piastri, and finally Verstappen now coming across the start-finish line as Hülkenberg is going to finish his lap and slot himself in. I think Hülkenberg might have a real shot here of going to the top of the timing sheets, and he does indeed. 2.5 tenths quicker than George Russell. Hülkenberg take a bow, a 132.6, and a very solid lap time indeed. Here comes Charles Leclerc and Lewis Hamilton. Lando Norris goes quickest of anybody through the middle sector as well. Max Verstappen, though, quicker than Lando Norris through the first part of the lap now. Charles Leclerc slots into 5th place behind the two Williams cars and slowest of anybody at the moment. Lewis Hamilton, his teammate, just coming around the final corner now. The Ferrari still looking uncomfortable on the soft compound tyre. He at least goes ahead of his teammate and also ahead of Alex Albon into 5th spot. But Lando Norris looks to be absolutely flying and goes to the top of the standings by 4.5 tenths of a second. It's provisional pole for Lando Norris. Oscar Piastri looking a couple attempts off of his teammate, and Lando Norris looking comfortably ahead of Piastri through first and second sectors, but Piastri could do it all in this final part of the lap. Max Verstappen also looking competitive through the middle part of the lap as well. It's Piastri and Verstappen still to come. Where are they going to slot into? The championship leader goes second fastest by 3 tenths of a second. But where will the current world champion sit? He was fastest of anybody through the first part of the lap. A comfortable second sector as well. And he does nick pole position by 7/100ths of a second. And Max Verstappen is on pole once again. And could we have a McLaren pole? No! No, we can't. Max Verstappen takes it. And you know how I said we just need Max Verstappen to have a bad weekend? Just one bad weekend from Max Verstappen is all we need. Does he give me one? No. He has the best qualifying that I've seen from anybody in a while. It's a very, very good flying lap. Fastest of anybody in the first and final sectors where it counts. Just let us win a drivers' championship, Max. Just let us win a drivers' championship. You've got 4 of them. You've got 4. Just let us win one. But can he? No. He just has to keep doing it. Just to keep qualifying. And this is exactly what people keep saying, by the way. Everyone's like, oh, all Max has to do is win every single race and Oscar Piastri has to come third. Look where he is. I'm going to lose my mind. I'm going to lose my mind if Max Verstappen wins this championship. But we're still a long way from that. We've got 6 races still to play out, 3 sprint races still to come. Let's take a deep breath. 4 is better than 5, though. Yeah, Max Verstappen, stunning lap. Take nothing away from him. Very, very solid indeed. A 10th per second quicker than Norris, and Norris was absolutely flying. So that is a very, very good lap from Max Verstappen. Oscar Piastri couldn't quite live with the two of them. Nearly 4/10 of a second off the pace. Nico Hülkenberg will start on the second row behind Oscar Piastri. Could be looking at a second podium place for Nico Hülkenberg this season. He was asked about it in an interview. He said it would be very nice. It's looking like it could happen. George Russell starts on the third row of the grid with Fernando Alonso, and Carlos Sainz and Lewis Hamilton start just inside of the point scoring places. Albon will start in 9th and Charles Leclerc will start in 10th through to Q3, but outside of the point scoring places, points only down to P8 for tomorrow's sprint. Kimi Antonelli, Isaac Hadjar, Pierre Gasly, Lance Stroll, and Liam Lawson, the 5 drivers not quick enough to make it through out of Q2. Ollie Behrman, Colapinto, Sonoda, Ocon, and Bortoletto involved in the absolute chaos that was sprint qualifying 1 that saw all 5 of them drop out as early as possible. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate you stopping by. I know it's a weird stream to have on a Friday evening, but I appreciate you spending it with me. Go out there now, do something nice. I've got to wait for 3 hours and pick my girlfriend up from the train station at 2 o'clock in the morning. So I'm going to sit here and try and find something to do to not fall asleep. Thank you guys so much. I will see you tomorrow for 2 more streams. Actually, do me a favor. Whilst you're here, click the top link in the description and watch my most recent video on the 2 McLaren drivers and whether there is any favoritism between the 2 of them. I released it a little bit late. I didn't have time to edit it, so therefore it's done absolutely terribly in terms of the algorithm. Give it a little boost. Just go down there, hit that button in the description, watch that video. Just give it a little bit of a boost in the algorithm, see if we can salvage some views from that video. But thank you guys so much. I will see you very, very soon. Just pretend I'm in a Formula 1 car. That is how I keep myself awake. I don't think that will work, but I'll give it a go.